Hello and welcome to another episode of The Conversation. This one is a part of our series from Belief in Fatherhood, so that is why we have my man Belief here.
Word.
But we also have my man Propaganda, and new to the panel is my man Ariel. Today, on this episode of The Conversation, we are going to be talking about the role of a father. The role of a father. General topic, but we're going to dive into it, break it up a little bit, dissect it, and make it make sense to everybody. So we want to thank you guys for being here, being a part of this panel. Dope, fresh, having you guys here. The first question I'm going to ask you in regards to being a role of a father. So one of the roles we know is spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Being in the home, a spiritual leader. What kind of struggles, or have you guys had any struggles fulfilling that role as a spiritual leader? Ariel, I'm going to start with you first. You have young kids, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a little different dynamic being a spiritual leader for young kids as opposed to, say, having teenagers or whatever.
Right.
How do you walk that out, and what kind of struggles have you had with that?
Well, for young kids, I feel like the biggest thing is since they won't be able to understand everything that you say to them, it's more so out of action. And so with that being said, it's just being more conscious of things. Like one thing that I tried to my wife was like when we started dating, she was one that would, before bed, go down, pray at the foot of the bed and things like that, and it would be very visual. Now, I wasn't like that. I'd just go lay in the bed, but I would say my prayer before I go to sleep, but, nobody would know that. And so with kids, it's little things like that that you have to be more conscious of, praying before eating. Instead of just, let them know that you're actually praying before you're, so it's more visual and hoping that they'll catch on to that.
Right.
I think it's the biggest thing.
Now, internally, are there any struggles that come along with that, along with dealing with that?
I would say so. I think one of the struggles I've had is thinking that they don't understand. Thinking that it's hard to help them understand, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just explaining to them and treating it like normal life. For instance, but when my youngest kid could barely sit up, his brother, who was like, 1.5 or 2 at the time, grabbed his hand and prayed for him. Weird.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there looking at the whole thing, and I just couldn't understand, what was going on there. But he's seen us do it, so he was just doing what we were doing. And another one of our friends' daughter had a heart transplant. She had a bad heart. She's 4 years old. And so I explained to him that another baby had to die in order for that baby, in order for her to get a heart. And so every night he would pray for Aaliyah. Can we pray for Aaliyah? And so I think the challenge is more with me as a father, like overthinking it. Like, oh, you won't understand Jesus. You won't understand this yet. You won't understand, and so like, that's kind of the,
Yeah, I think the challenge for me is more on a like meta level to like, well, what is leadership and what is spiritual leadership? You know what I'm saying? What I don't want to do is just like perpetuate sort of a Victorian, misogynistic, kind of patriarchal way of call it spiritual leadership, but it's really just Victorianism that's like, suppresses the female voice because I'm the leader, you know what I'm saying? And like, so it's more like, well, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Is it as simple as praying with my child in the morning, or, you know what I'm saying? Or like, what is it? But is it also humility? Is it also how you see me treat my wife? Is it how when we're in public spheres and my tone, just all that comes into like all of that to say what exactly is like spiritual leadership?
So
to me, it's been like I'm in my head most of the time.
Let's answer that question then. Like let's answer that. What is it? What is that? What does that spiritual leadership look like?
Fam, like I feel like I'm telling you, like it's a question I ask myself like every day. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's so tied to, and this is another thing I think we do as like fathers, to where we separate our personal walk with Christ from our spiritual leadership, like they're two different jobs, rather than saying, no, this is me walking out my faith. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm slacking just in my own Christian life, it's gonna be displayed in the way for which I live. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think in a lot of ways, it's me paying attention to my own ebbs and flows and sinful tendencies and the way that I'm treating everybody around me will manifest itself unintentionally. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm intentional about being honest about when I need to repent about stuff and being transparent about it, telling my wife, letting my wife be who she is, and even using that phrase in the sense of like, she don't need my permission to be who she is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to play my role with her. You know what I'm saying? Like in bolstering her freedom and bolstering her excellence. And so my daughter seeing me be a servant leader and not like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that there's like so much that has to do with really just walking out your faith, period.
Yeah.
You know
so
what I'm saying?
you mentioned the word servant leader. Is that a technique, or is that a tactic, or is that just who you are? Or actually, Belief, let me get you to address that too, about spiritual leadership and what it looks like and what that means to you. And then discuss the servant element of leadership.
For me, I feel like it's in everything. So when I wake up in the morning, everything I do with my children, I have to kind of like guide them, you know what I'm saying? Emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so I'm gonna be honest with you, like it's really hard for me to kind of focus on the spiritual aspect because emotionally and physically is what is pressing me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So much, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like just getting hit all day with stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like the spiritual aspect. So I feel like the emotional and physical thing is just a part of the spiritual aspect, you know what I'm saying? As far as being a servant leader, you know, when someone asked me like, you know, why do you want to get married? I didn't really know how to answer the question, and I figured out that I wanted to serve my wife. You know what I'm saying? That's basically why I got married, and in having kids, you become more of a servant. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a hard time with all this because it's like I'm learning more, but at the same time, I'm realizing how much I didn't know before. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I might have to come back around on that.
Yeah, all good. So I'm going to put this out there for everyone. And Ariel, I want you to address it first. We've been given this task of fatherhood, okay? You know, God blesses us to have children, and we've been given that task. With him giving us that task, I'm sure there's certain things he holds us accountable for. There's a role we have to fulfill. There's like job requirements. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And from your perspective and in your home, what are some of those job requirements that you think God is saying, look, man, if you're gonna be a father, make sure you get this done?
Well, in that case, it circles back to leadership. And I feel like a big thing about leadership is modeling, you know? And so when you want to go back to the passage where we're talking about spreading seeds, we're casting seeds, and where does it land, and who picks it up, and where does it grow, things like that. Our job is to cast those seeds. Our job is to show our kids, if it's a boy, how a man should treat his wife, how he should act, how he should go about how he should carry himself in certain situations, how he should think about things, because philosophies are everything. How you think about things is how reality starts following it. So a big thing is just showing them, and same thing for a daughter, showing them how a man treats his wife, how a wife should be expected to be treated, and how she engages with her husband. So it's showing them that, and I feel like whether they pick that up or not, that's not your job. There was another man who said things that God said, if you plant the seed, he will grow the tree. All I can do is plant the seeds. All I can do is show you how a man should treat a woman. All I can show you is how to lead a family. Whether you pick that up, I'm not being graded on that. You're going to be graded on that once you get your family. God's going to be judging you on how you carry that out. But my role is making sure that they had the example. That when they look back and say, oh, I know this is what I seen my daddy do. I learned this from him. He tried to show me this. Whether I listen or not, it's going to be on them. Now, if we look back at the script and say, you were never around, you never did this, you never showed this, you never acted this out, then that's going to be on me.
So
I think it's more of a, well, not more of a, but I think really I feel like the only universal from the scriptures is we have to die. Like you love like Christ loved the church, in that he gave his life. So the only universal I feel like is, I have to die to myself. You know what I'm saying? For the sake of them. Now, how that's played out, I think is, unique per family. You know what I'm saying? But you see, but Jesus's position of humility and service in no way undermined his power and authority. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now that he was the perfect iteration of that,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
right,
saying,
yeah.
right? So we're all gonna fall short, just period. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think in our house, like similar to like Belief and I being touring artists, like there's this like these two extremes. There's this when we're home, like, and we are incredibly domesticated in the morning, doing the work, you know, with the kids, doing the homework, all that, and then we disappear for 2 weeks because we're on tour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then mom immediately has to become, you know, both things. So there's this like, so how I serve and die to myself and all the things, it's in flux, like how that's played out. And sometimes there's clashes because, and I know Belief can attest to this too, like when the day you come back from tour, like it's weird because it's like she's been running and I'm like, why the trash not empty? Little girl, why's your bed not made? You know what I'm saying? And mom's like, look,
we made it.
we made it. We live,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that matters to you. I really don't, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so just, you know, and my position, in my space in that, or my position in that space has to be one that still says, I still need to die to myself.
Yeah.
It's like
You know what I'm
it's no limit to the spaces where we have like dominion over in this aspect. You know what I'm saying? So when you ask this question, it's kind of like I don't even know how to even.
Where do I go?
Define
Yeah,
it.
because it's like it's so broad,
broad,
you know,
yeah.
and it's never failing, and you're always pursuing your child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it has a lot to do with presence. For instance, being a touring artist, I used to prepare so much to go on tour. You know what I'm saying? Exercising, rehearsing, remember all the words, all that stuff. You know what I mean? But when I was on tour, I had to really prepare my heart to come home because that's the biggest stage I'll ever have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
Like being in the house, being in the living room, that's, you know, I could be telling people to put their hands up all day. You know what I'm saying? And then they like the song and they go home and they do whatever they're gonna do. But my kids are gonna need me and they're gonna be watching me way more than these other people are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very vast. And,
You know what? Let me. I want to touch on that just a little bit more
Okay.
because you guys are well-known artists. You guys go out in front of crowds of hundreds, thousands, or whatever, and there's a lot of fan praise. Okay. There's a level of humility though that I'm sure you guys have to tap into when you come back home.
Oh, it's placed on us. Like you don't have to seek it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's meet you right at the door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 Well, I think that's weird too, because it's like you can't believe the hype. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like
absolutely.
people are people. Some people are gonna like you. They're gonna think you're gonna think you're great. But I feel like as an artist, the best artists bring whatever the person brought to the show. They bring it out of them. Hey, so who are you? What's your story? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you make people feel like they can go do something as well.
Right.
You know. But when you come home, it is what it is. Like that's the real place. That's reality for
Yeah.
for me. You know what I'm saying? The stage is great. It's fun, but that's a very small aspect of what we do. For the most part, it's traveling,
Yeah.
meet and greets, eating, you know, sleeping. It's a lot that goes
Yeah.
into it. And then you're on the stage for what, an hour, and then that's it. You know what
it,
I'm saying?
yeah.
And then it's just tiring. So you get home and it's like non-stop work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you it's like any other person's job where like when you get home, the second you get home, I'm trying to sit on the couch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just like think about nothing. But just for us, it's just like that sitting on the couch, we want it to be 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been gone a week. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah,
So but you don't. You have, like he said, yeah, I'm like usually oftentimes like either on the bus or on the plane, like I'm getting my brain ready to not be greeted with the love and affection that I'm hoping for,
Right,
because
right.
they've just been in survival mode too. Like I don't want
right.
to think about Daddy being gone because I'm just gonna miss him so much. So when I get home, it's like, hey Dad, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Been gone.
you don't want to like
Right.
no, mommy. You know what I'm saying? And they're so attached to their mom at the
Yeah,
time. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You feel a way about that. Like
Little slighted.
yo,
Little slighted.
you miss me? Like,
Right. So with that dynamic in the home, there's responsibilities we also have as men from God, but there's also responsibilities our wives are expecting from us.
Oh yeah. Well.
They have certain expectations of how we are to operate as a home. How do you address those? How do you deal with those?
What you mean?
Like, okay, so your wife. Oh, that's the response.
You know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying like it's no limit to this.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it's, I don't know. Like our responsibilities is to love,
All
to
encompassing.
die.
Yeah, to die.
So what that means is, I'm always serving. I'm cooking. I'm cleaning. I'm whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That stuff is like.
Yeah.
But that's
providing.
That's
Like,
corny. Or we're providing.
Yeah, it looks different for you. Like we have both of our wives. Like we have my wife's a PhD in educational. She's a college professor. Yeah. So like, she's not. If she feels like it, she's gonna come home and make something amazing for us. She's the better cook out of all of us. But like, that's not expected of her.
Yeah. Right.
She's a doctor.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what's serving her, you know, what her expectation might be is like, I ultimately, all I would like is to be able to come home, watch something brainless, you know what I'm saying, and get a massage before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like,
Ariel, your wife, what kind of expectations or responsibilities does she expect you to take on and to hold in your home?
Well, the biggest thing, especially being young at this age, it was the culture flash. Like, you know what? I know you're 23. When at the time when we had our first child, I was 20 years old. It was like, I know you're 20, but your friends, gonna have to let them go. You know what I mean? Not on the sense like you're in timeout, but it's like you now have a family now. Like, you know what I mean? I know you care for your friends, but you gotta understand, as a father, as a soon-to-be husband at that point in time, it was like you're gonna have to put your family first. So your friends are cool, but your family has to come first. So a big part of that was just shedding that. It was just being home, and then it was like, okay, so, and this is an ongoing argument we used to have a lot. Okay, you want me to be home, so here I am at home, and here you are on your phone. So you want me to be home, you want me to be around, but then you face down in the phone.
Right.
And so in a sense, you here, but you're not there either.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? What do you want me to be here? And then that's when I started realizing, and it kind of rained into my head about what my pastor told me when I was about to be a father for the first time. He was just like, you need to be there because your presence changes things. And I started realizing what she meant for me is that she wants me to be home because things change when I'm at home. Like, so we'll be home away from home, wife be there with the kids, and then it's all this chaos. As soon as you get home, things get quiet, and then you're just like, you know, she's complaining about how stressful the day was, and you're like, why is it so stressful? These are kids. Why are you letting them run you? And she's like, because you're not here. You don't understand that. Well, she wasn't saying this, but this is something I started coming to realization myself, is that when I'm at home, sudden stuff just doesn't happen.
Right.
Like the kids aren't going that crazy when I'm at home because they already know if they get too wild, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah,
So it's like when daddy's home, we're going to be calm. So I never really got to understand why she would get so worked up. I'm like, they're just kids. But she's like, because you're not here to change the presence of here. So her biggest thing was just being around and spending time with them. Me, I didn't grow up with my father. My father, you know, was in New York, and then at the time, like when I came of age at 18, he made it seem like it was his plan to where he was just, I'm stepping into your life now. Now you're old enough, you're able to have conversation with me. This is all working perfectly, like as if it was some master plan, you know? And so my biggest thing was being there and actually being mindful while I'm at home. So those are expectations that I'm getting for her because she had both of her parents.
Yeah.
She knows what it's like to have parents there, and she knows, and they were older parents, so they like to just spend time in the house.
Right.
They weren't out going out. They didn't have all these friends and things like that. So that's her expectations. And so some of that I'm trying to meet, but then also some of that is just realizing these are what you expect because what you got, this doesn't, me fulfilling those expectations doesn't necessarily dictate the quality of me as a father, as a man.
Yeah. So she definitely wanted your priorities to shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
My wife expectations, like she expects everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, not in a rude way, but literally, like, you know, she doesn't know what she doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't know what she wants. She knows what she doesn't want. So if I do something, she's like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my thing is like, she expects me silently not to expect anything from her. You know what I'm saying?
Now, how are you processing that?
Now that's hard for me
Yeah.
in this season because I know I have to serve her and just unwillingly, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever I have to do, I have to do. But she I just have to be okay right now in this season to say that I'm not getting anything.
Yeah.
So
there's a human aspect to it, to where nobody understands themselves perfectly, right?
Right.
So I don't understand myself perfectly as to be able to or since I don't even understand, how am I going to be able to communicate actually what I need from her?
Right.
Because I don't even know what I need, right?
Yeah, right.
And the same's true with her. So when she's communicating, yo, this is what I need from you, it's not like she understands herself well enough to be able to, and her feelings might change, you know what I'm saying? And her feelings are filtered through a sin nature and a selfish attitude, and so are mine, you know what I'm saying? So which kind of goes back to the leader thing, like I need to be a student of my wife well enough to know that, like, yo, she's actually pulling from a place where she's tired or not at the healthiest version of herself. So what she's asking of me is actually coming from this. My response to this, is my response healthy? Am I coming from a place where I'm full, I'm well rested, I'm okay, so that I can respond to what she's asking me? So like if either of those things are not happening, to me that's where leadership steps in, where somebody's got to be like, okay, wait a minute, I don't think we're the healthiest version of ourselves right now. So what we're asking of each other is ridiculous.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and we're going to wrap it up in a second, but I want to ask you guys this. What is it that you want from your children? What's your goal for your children? And how does that inform the way you parent them and how you father them? What's the outcome that you want? And how do you get there, basically, is the question.
What's funny, I think Belief kind of said it like, without saying it, sometimes it's just like crisis aversion. Like you're so into the forest, it's hard to see the trees that you're just like, I don't want her to fall off a cliff. Like, you know, I just don't want her to fail history. Like, you know, I don't want her to be a mean girl because, like, which she did once, like just didn't know how to deal with her emotions because one of her friends liked a boy that she liked also, and she was just like, hey, he said you're hideous. Like oh my God, like sweetheart, like process your emotions. You know what I'm saying? But like, so you're just so far into the moment. Sometimes it's really hard to pull out and just be like,
this is my overall
view. So like at the end of the day, man, I feel like I'm learning now that like I just want her to be, and it's so corny, but like the best her, you know what I'm saying? And I really don't know who that is yet, you know, feel me? So I'm more like, obviously I want her to be integral, I want her to be a believer, I want her to be adventurous, and you know what I'm saying? And like, I want her to see the world, but she may not want to see the world. Like, she may just be like, yo, like, I'm trying to, I would love just working at this spot here and being single my whole life, you know what I'm saying? All this like, yo, this is how a man should treat you. She's like, I'm not looking to get married. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, right?
It's like, what those lessons for?
Yeah, I don't know why you went through all that with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm really like, and this is new for me, like I'm learning to just kind of be like, yo, I just want her to be the best her. And I feel like who that is has yet to be seen, you know what I'm saying?
And if I would add anything to that, I think one thing my mom always stressed was, why are you doing what you're doing? I want my kids to grow up with an open heart. And just because I feel like from that, you can grow into anything else. My pastor always talks about when your heart hardens, when you get to a point where, and this is where most people end up divorcing and stuff like that, because you get to a point where it cannot then penetrate your heart. Your wife can come home, she can smile at you, cook you dinner, but you're just so hardened that you can't see what's really going on. And so my thing is just making sure they have an open heart and know who their parents were, who they came from, and get a best understanding of that. I feel like, sometimes we get we get lost in the sauce. The day in, day out stuff that you got to go through. But the biggest thing is just making sure they have well and healthy heart to receive, and then knowing who they are.
Mine's a little bit more practical.
Come on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. But yeah, it's like I just want my kids to be capable. I want them to feel like they can do things. You know what I'm saying? I come from a place of like, I didn't know anything. You know what I'm saying? So even like, oh, how do you even get over here? You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know, so I wouldn't go. And so I just want them to have knowledge. I want to give them the know-how to research and understand things and do their taxes or whatever. Not to be people who are like, I feel like I can't do anything because I don't know how. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we get stuck there.
True.
So I just want my kids to feel capable.
Yeah, that's what's up. Man, I got stories I want to share of my own too, but we don't have time, bro. We don't have time. Thank you guys for being here for another episode of The Conversation. This has been the Belief in Fatherhood series. So we got my man Belief here. Thank you for being here, bro.
Hey.
We got Propaganda. He's also part of the series. And my man Ariel. Thank you all for your contributions. Make sure you guys subscribe to the P4CM channel if you have not done so already. And please be sure you subscribe to Belief in Fatherhood.
Yeah.
We thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes of The Conversation. God bless you guys.